Good morning and welcome to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Hump Day. Here we are going down the home stretch for the month of March, 29th day of March already, and it's a sine die for the Georgia General Assembly.
They've got a lot. They passed a lot of resolutions. I've noticed, like looking through all of the bills and resolutions. There's a lot of resolutions that were passed. Maybe not as many bills. We'll have the final count on that, I believe, tomorrow. So. But there were a couple bills that I was excited that passed, Bill.
I also. It's always amazing to me. You've got these 40 days that they're meeting, and then all of a sudden it's like nothing happens for about the first 35 days,
Yep.
And then everything happens in the last 5 days.
Yes.
So we've got to get this done. Wait a minute. Time's running out. We have to get this done, including the General Assembly coming up with what the media calls a controversial bill because they don't like it, going to the governor's desk to create a new disciplinary board for states' local district attorneys. Hallelujah.
That will impact us very big down here in Chatham County. Our DA has not been prosecuting and has definitely not been living up to what the expectation is of a DA. They are pushing off murder cases and not allowing those trials to move forward.
Yeah, prosecuting bad guys seems to be something that they don't want to do. Sooner or later, as we always say, this always comes back to bite you in the butt, because if you keep doing this, sooner or later you have to live here too.
Well, and all of the victims of these crimes and their families, they have the right to a speedy trial. They have the right to that. And if she's not doing her job, then we need to remove her and we need to get someone that will do the job. Because
it's written somewhere in the Constitution about that.
Yes, well, and I mean, we had a tourist killed here last year, and that case was just postponed because
the prosecuting attorney has resigned.
Well, do you want to know why?
With 12 other cases.
Do you want to know why? He had never tried a murder case, and he's like, I don't know what I'm doing. And he had no training, and so, he was like, I can't. You have to train people how to do these cases. Like murder cases, I don't think are like doing a traffic ticket.
No, it's a little different.
Just a tad. So I think that there's a lot of problems in the DA's office. I think this bill will really, really help us down here. I'm hoping that we are the first ones to get to utilize it and have some oversight over our DA here.
But once again, the Democrats didn't want it because this was voted right along party lines, 92-77.
Yes, and sometimes that's how it goes.
So there'd be a 5-member investigative panel, and 3 members hearing panel to review complaints lodged against prosecutors and also to dish out punishment. They could include removal from their elected office. Hallelujah. Senate Bill 92 also specifies that the prosecutors and solicitors' responsibilities, including reviewing each case individually to determine probable cause and also making changing a decision based on details of the case. And the Democratic lawmakers and others argue that the Republicans' plan removes prosecutorial discretion in deciding how cases should be prioritized in the community. Well, I got news for you. If you start postponing murder cases and other assault cases, then you're going to have a bad, dangerous community. And they need to be removed from office if they are not doing their job. And we have one right here in Chatham County.
Yes, and also I think it's good to know where their money comes from because our DA was funded by Soros, which has not ended up well for any city that has a Soros DA. So.
No, it hasn't.
And another bill that I am, quite pleased passed. However, I don't think it goes far enough. I'm hoping next legislative session we can get some more things put in there. But the banning of the surgeries for children.
Yeah.
We don't allow people to make those types of decisions under the age of 18 for a tattoo or a piercing. I don't think that we should be allowing these surgeries to happen until someone is fully able to make that decision for themselves.
Don't we have laws that say that kids can't buy alcohol or are supposed to be consuming alcohol under a certain age?
Correct.
And this is a little bit different from that. Usually, you can recover from being drunk.
Yeah, and these are life-altering things, and I think that we just need to hold off and let things play out. And if you're the age of 18 and this is still something you want to do, I think that that's really your decision. But I think when it comes to children, it is our jobs as adults to protect them. Mm-hmm. So.
And it's been through the years, and my mother was one of them that was a real tomboy.
Yeah.
That was the expression that was used of the girls that used to play on the guys baseball team or something when when they had the Sandlot stuff you had organized in the neighborhood and things like that. Remember when kids used to play outside? If you're under 30, you might not know about that. But kids used to go outside and play. They didn't have any electronic pads to look at.
Yep.
So they had to entertain themselves elsewhere. Mom just said, "Be home when the street lights come on."
Yes, and one bill that was tabled in the House was the school choice bill, allowing the money to follow the child. A little disappointed in that.
Yeah, really.
So that's unfortunate. But another bill that does impact the Savannah area is that they put term limits on our city council, which I think is great. Aldermen would only be allowed to serve 3 consecutive years, which is a 12-year total, which I think is a good thing, although the term limits seem very long. So 12 years in a city council role.
Yeah, because the mayor can only serve 2 terms, and at least here in Savannah. I don't know about other cities around the state. Whether or not that's a state legislative has been legislated by the General Assembly, but you can only serve 2 terms as mayor here now. Once upon a time, that was not the case. We had John Rosikos, for example. We always called him Savannah's permanent mayor because he was mayor for almost 20 years.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's crazy. You don't see that. You don't see that anymore. That's for sure.
Nope, not much.
But there is another bill at the federal level that I think is quite interesting, and I believe Buddy is here to tell us about that.
Yeah, our Congressman Buddy Carter has a little bit to talk to us about, and you've heard about this TikTok as the clock is ticking.
Welcome to this week's edition of Buddy's Briefings. We're coming to you this week outside of the Rayburn House Office Building, one of 3 House office buildings here on Capitol Hill, and this is where my office is located. As you can see behind me, the cherry blossoms are in full bloom. This is a beautiful city, particularly in the springtime when the cherry blossoms bloom like they are right now. Well, it's been a very busy week in Washington this week. In fact, as I'm sure you probably saw on the news, we actually had the CEO of TikTok before my committee, the Energy and Commerce Committee. And why is that important? Well, it's important for a number of reasons. First of all, over 150 million people use that app. 2/3 of all of our children use that app. And they spend an average of 95 minutes a day on that app. Now, we're very concerned about that for that reason, and also because that app, the parent company that owns that app, is owned by the Chinese Communist Party. That's right, the Chinese Communist Party owns that app. We're worried about it because of national security reasons. We're worried about it because of the influence that it's having on our children. They are using psychological warfare on our children. I'm convinced of that. You've seen some of these challenges, the milk crate challenge, the blackout challenge, the chicken NyQuil challenge, all of those things. Well, I think it's interesting, and this is something I asked the CEO. There's a sister app in China that they don't have these kind of challenges. Why is that? Why do they not have these kind of challenges in China, but they have them over here? We've had children who have died as a result of these challenges, and that's why we're concerned. We're also concerned because of the national security, as we should be. The Chinese Communist Party is not our friend. They are not our adversary. They are our enemy. They want to overtake us economically and militarily. And that's why they're using this app, I'm convinced, to commit psychological warfare. And we've got to put a stop to it. That's it for this week. Thanks for joining me.
So
Boy, he ain't kidding.
Yeah, well, the new bill that they're talking about is called the Restrict Act. And it's definitely not... it's not a great bill. I think that they can come up with something different that is a lot better. They give a lot of control to the government, which is never a good idea. The way I've heard it described is it's the Patriot Act for digital social media companies, which I don't think is going to end well.
No, because the Patriot Act hasn't worked out nearly as well as we were hoping, or as it was sold to us, like any other of these bills.
Well, we were excited when it could be used against other people, but when it started being used against the American people, we weren't too happy about it. And I think that that's where this comes in. It will be used against TikTok, but it also will start to be used against other social media companies and also against American citizens, which will not be good for us. I think that there's a way to handle this as far as maybe making some restrictions and things like that, and telling TikTok they have to do certain things, and they'll basically just kill their own product because they're not going to do certain things. So I think that that's a way to do it, but also holding Facebook, Instagram, and all of those guys as well to the same standard.
But you can relax because the CEO of TikTok, as he explained last week in Congress, the CCP, the Communist Chinese Party, can't see any of this. They got a firewall there. They can't see any of the stuff we're doing over there in China. Yeah.
I don't believe it.
Meanwhile, speaking of TikTok and timing, absolute unbelievable kudos going out to the Nashville police.
Yes, what a horrible situation they were put in, but they did a great job, and they went in and executed very, very well. Compared to Uvalde, I mean...
Yeah. This is the timing of this and the way that they handled this situation, the school shooting a couple of days ago, should be used at the FBI Academy and every police department around the country. This is how you do it, rather than sit around and wait and see if something is going to happen. Now, when Columbine came along and they waited over 2 or 3 hours to go in, well, that was a first time type thing, so we didn't really know how to handle certain situations. But Uvalde was a disgrace. Everybody should have been fired over that one. How many people died? I can remember, Brittany, when they said that a border agent was the one who took the guy down. I said, a border agent? How in the world did that happen? Turns out he was the husband of one of the teachers who comes and said, these guys ain't doing anything. How about you come do something? And he did.
Well, and we have to have more brave men in these positions, I will say.
Well, these guys were, because they didn't know what was going on. The next door they opened, they could have been shot right on the spot, and they did it without hesitation. And this whole thing was over almost start to finish in less than 15 minutes. And this is how it looked. The body cam footage has been released, and this is how it went down.
And they go in. First floor. Hold there, y'all. Somebody hold there. Hit that door. Rifle first. Blue, go. Go. Move. I'm with you. Go left. Straight. Right here. It's locked. Go. Hit that stair. Hit the stairs. Go. Those stairs. Go. 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 Keep pushing. Go. Shots fired. Move. Right. Push with LPVO. Go right. Move. Watch out. Move. Stop moving! Watch left. Suspect down.
That's how it's done.
Yes.
Without hesitation.
Yes, and you guys could hear the fire alarm going off in the background. That was due to a brave little girl who was trying to save her friends, Evelyn Deekhouse.
And it cost her life.
Yes, it did. Very sad situation, and 6 people, 3 adults, 3 children.
But God knows how many would have been dead now if it hadn't been for those guys going in so quickly and so efficiently. So, way to go, Nashville cops.
Yes, and we'll be talking more about this situation when we get back.
serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934, with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance. With integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.
At Get Real America, we'd like to thank the Southeast Georgia Republican Assembly for all their efforts on making a difference in communities.
At Get Real America, we are focused on Savannah, but we'd like to hear from other communities as well. We have a lot in common.
When you're looking to buy a business or sell a business, the experts at Best Business Brokers have you covered. Whether you're ready to cash in on your years of hard work or you're taking that first step in buying a business of your own, they're here to guide you through the process and make sure you get the best outcome possible. By having Best Business Brokers assist you when you buy a business or sell a business, they handle the legwork of the intricate process. This ensures a smooth transition of ownership, allowing you to get to work immediately or receive payment for your business as soon as possible. With base operations in Savannah and Charleston, they service all of Georgia and South Carolina. If you're considering starting a business here, the mild winters and 5-tiered economic areas make these the perfect places to do so. If you're ready to buy a business or sell a business, then you're ready to contact Best Business Brokers. Visit their website at b3brokers.com or call at 912-349-0940.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Happy Wednesday. A little cool for this time of year. It's all of a sudden Savannah's getting back into the winter feeling again. But
It's been
going
too
into the
cold
weekend,
here.
yeah.
It's been too cold here all winter. Way colder than it was the year before. I'm like, what is going on?
And here we are a couple of weeks into spring, and Palm Sunday is Sunday, and then Easter is a week after that. So got some great stories to tell. And by the way, tomorrow we're doing our April Fool's stories. So if you have a good April Fool's joke that you played on somebody played on you, or one that you just heard about, you were involved in, or something, you just read about it, we'd like to hear it.
Yes, let us know. We want to have a little bit of fun tomorrow as we're talking about some of these stories that are just devastating this morning.
Mm-hmm. Teachers' unions, for example, calling for a ban on guns. That's going to work.
Yeah. The thing is guns guns aren't evil. It's evil people that do these things. It's the hearts and minds of someone that makes these decisions.
I've got lots of guns, and not a one of them has ever gone off until I pull the trigger. And
most people that are Second Amendment people have guns. Mm-hmm. They're responsible gun owners. I mean, I own some as well, and grew up with them my whole life. Yeah, and never had any incidents. I don't see where I don't understand the logic of taking guns out of the hands of people who actually are responsible is going to help the situation, and why one more gun law is going to help the situation when we've got about 30,000 of them. Try enforcing the ones that we have now and go after the bad guys, and for goodness sakes, get the mental health situation in this country fixed. Well, and that's something that I do want to discuss after we look at some of these clips is just we actually shut down a lot of the mental institutions in this country. We did. And I think we have seen that it has not served us well to do that. I think that they can be done in a way that can really help people, but there's no services, Bill. Just ask Sheriff John Welcher. He says he's running a mental institution as much as he is a jail, and that's not that's not going to do his. And this is a statistic from at least 5 or 6 years ago. We spend
his budget just for drugs for inmates that need, whether prescription drugs, that type thing,
Pharmaceuticals,
is
yes.
$5 million a year. And that statistic is at least 5 or 6 years old. So how much it is now, I have no idea. But even at $5 million, that's one heck of a chunk of your budget that has to go to house inmates who should not be there in the first place. They ought to be in mental institutions.
Or seeking psychiatric care for them
Exactly.
to get better. I don't believe that someone that goes in a mental institution has to stay there forever. Sometimes we
not.
just, maybe have a psychotic break and just need help to figure that out and get better. But I think that we need to provide more services to these people because we are seeing it's a huge epidemic in our country and we are not addressing it in the right way.
And we put such a stigma on it.
Yes.
If you got a chest pains and everything, say, go see a heart doctor. You got problems with your kidneys, you go see a urologist. But got a problem with your mind, going to see a psychiatrist? I said, anybody who goes to a psychiatrist ought to have their head examined. Now, I'll go along with the consistent philosophy there, but at the same time, we put this stigma on that, and any psychiatrist or psychologist will tell you that.
Well, also, Bill, do you know how hard it is to actually get into some of these facilities? I mean, I've had some experiences in my life where I've tried to help people that need this kind of help and trying to get them into a facility for, drug abuse, addiction, any sort of mental thing that they have going on. I mean, they were telling me 3 months. I'm like, this person doesn't have 3 months.
No.
And so it was very eye-opening to me that we just do not have the infrastructure to handle what's going on in our country, and we got to figure that out.
But banning guns is certainly not going to be the answer. But by God, we got the second biggest teachers union in the world that's putting that forward and saying that's going to solve the problem.
An epidemic that our great nation must solve. And how many lives will be shattered before we have the courage to do what Scotland did, what Australia did, what New Zealand, what other great democracies do? We must solve this epidemic. And that's up to us.
I do agree with her. It is up to us. But I don't agree with the solutions she's coming up with. And like I said, I think that we need to really focus on what the real problem is. I mean, this administration says they're all about root causes, but they're focused on surface level things.
Absolutely. We got to get to those root causes, just as the vice president.
Yeah.
But that's Amy Weingartner, who is the head of the American Federation of Teachers, the second largest teachers union besides the National Educators NEA. And it's just pathetic. Her so-called leadership has been disgusting. She just went to Ukraine recently for God knows what, but there she was. Maybe she was getting some more money because actually we're doing an investigation now that's showing that all this money that we're allocating for Ukraine is actually being doubled back and sent back here to America.
Well, and the thing about the teachers union is that we cannot subpoena any of they don't fall under the FOIA request. So when it's a separate organization from the government and they're able to do stuff in the government without being able to have any transparency, that's a huge problem.
And I don't think there should be any public unions.
I agree with that.
Teachers shouldn't be allowed to go on strike if it's in a public school. And no official from the government should be allowed to go on strike.
I agree
Period.
with that too.
You know what the job is, you know what the salary is, that's it.
Yeah, and Joe Biden hasn't handled this situation very well, in my opinion. He was telling jokes about ice cream and being Jill Biden's husband right before he talked about the shooting that just occurred in Nashville. And a reporter asked him a question, and I was appalled by his response.
Yeah, when he was confronted with this situation.
Do you believe that Christians were targeted in the Nashville school shooting? Do you believe that Christians were targeted?
I have no idea.
Josh Foley believes they were. What do you say to that?
Well, I probably don't then.
Probably don't.
No, I'm joking. No, I have no idea.
There's a lot of things he has no idea about, and that's one of them. Was asked about if this, what would he think about them targeting Christians? This particular shooter just recently, who happens to be trans, was targeting Christians.
Yeah, and also the shooter was being treated for an emotional disorder as well. So there were some things happening with this person that, I can't even imagine, but she needed to get help probably earlier. And I think that part of the problem that I have with this person was probably, I don't have proof of this, but I think that they probably were on some sort of pharmaceuticals. Giving women testosterone, it does make them more aggressive. It does, it does all of those things. So what role did they play? I don't know. But a lot of the shooters that are on, that do these mass shootings are on SSRIs, which are usually an antidepressant type of drug. And it's a huge problem. I don't know that we should be putting children on these types of drugs.
I want to know why she was able to buy these. She bought 7 weapons from 5 different stores. They said she bought them legally. So, and her parents said that they didn't even know she even had firearms.
Well, her mom was an activist against guns. So quite interesting.
Doesn't sound like a lot of good parenting going on here. But the fact that she was able, she's on these drugs, she's got this problem with depression and stuff, and she's able to buy 7 guns from 5 different gun stores legally. So these people that keep saying they want to close all these loopholes and everything else, why wasn't she caught at least in one of these stores?
Well, and I think I will say there is a challenge here, because when you look at the Second Amendment, there is no restriction on your mental capacity to own a gun. I do think that there are things that we should be doing proactively to help with this. One of them is making sure that our kids are not being indoctrinated in schools. I think that making sure that our kids grow up healthy and happy. I think that that's a huge issue that we're seeing in our country. We're seeing suicide skyrocket in our kids. We're seeing the bullying being much worse for them because it's on social media. So it can be bigger than it is in just that school. It can
especially for girls. Out.
Yeah,
especially for girls.
Absolutely. Well, and we're already so self-critical in the stages of middle school to high school. They're very challenging years for high school girls. And,
exactly.
There's just a lot that I think we need to do, and I just don't think that we're taking the right approaches to solve the problems.
We are not, and there's a lot more that we can do, and we are not doing it. When concentrating on the legal gun owners rather than the ones who are illegally using them. Yes, and I think I warned you guys that Vivek Ramaswamy is going to be one of my favorites, and he has just. Thanks for the warning, by the way. Yes. He's wonderful, and we're going to hear from him next on his plan for education. Yeah, how to protect the kids. That's next. To smoke or drink for the same reasons.
At Get Real America, we want to make sure that the real story gets out, and you can help us as a sponsor or as an advertiser to make sure that word does get out to the community.
Be a sponsor and support your local community here at Get Real America. Last segment, do you want to do James O'Keefe?
Area with the power of the Shield since 1934, with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance. With integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
I don't think it's an accident that I ended up writing music for a living, because I think I lived in a house where I saw how deeply it affected everyone in the house. And just how much everyone defined themselves by the music they listened to.
Music as a framework, I think, gave my parents my identity from a young age. You can like any music that you want if it makes you feel happy. And now when I hear certain songs, I think of them, and I think of them in their happiest state, and it makes me happy.
If they seem like they're having trouble talking about something, I try to tell them about a time when I felt something similar.
Whatever the issue was, we would tell them the pros and cons and how important it was, and that they had come to us because we could always help them. I think the real important point, we always told them, no matter what you do, no matter what happens, we will help you through it no matter what it is.
Good half hour before.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
Heading down the home stretch here on this Wednesday already.
Yes, it's been a quick week already.
Boy, it has. And Vivek Ramaswamy is going to be a household name pretty soon. You're going to know how to pronounce it and spell it and everything.
Yes, yes, you are.
Running for president, announced as president, and this young man is brilliant on steroids. It is amazing how he can laser focus and just cut to the chase on just about any subject when it comes to about the greatness of America, solving problems in America, and one of them, of course, is the gun situation, among other things, and how to protect our schools. He's got a better idea than the unions have, that's for sure.
Yes, he does.
What happened in Nashville is utterly unable in our country. And I'm speaking today not as a presidential candidate, but as a father. I have two sons. One's 3 years old. One's 9 months old. I'm thinking about the future that we're creating for their generation in our country. And that's why it is a core part of my presidential platform to protect our children, to protect the next generation of Americans. I think there's 6 steps that we can take, that I intend to take as the next president to actually make that happen. First is actually just physically protecting our kids in the schools, period. We got to do it. There are school shootings across the country. Assault weapons bans or banning guns or whatever, that's a red herring. That's not going to solve this problem because crazy people are going to find crazy ways to do crazy things. Let's actually protect our children. Okay, we spend more money and more resources protecting banks or shopping malls than we do in protecting the most valuable asset of this country, our children, the next generation of Americans. I've already pledged to shut down the U.S. Department of Education, which spends over $80 billion per year on toxic agendas. That's a discussion for another day. But after I shut that down, we've done the math on this, we could take 25% of that budget and put 2 to 3 armed security guards in every public school in this country for 1/4 of the budget of the U.S. Department of Education. Ask yourself which is a better use of funds. It's not even close. Lock the doors, protect the schools. That's how we protect our kids physically. And it's not just protecting them physically from school shootings. I think we have to protect them physically from other forms of intervention as well. There was something particular about that Nashville shooting that we ought to pay attention to. This was a transgender perpetrator, okay? This is just a symptom of a deeper epidemic in our country of radical gender ideology in our schools, creating more gender dysphoria than there ever was. It's an epidemic, but we're going further now as a country, where parents are taught the thing you're supposed to do is affirm your kids' gender confusion that the schools themselves create by going through surgery, by going through chemical intervention in the form of puberty blockers. This is irreversible damage to our kids. It is not reversible. It's a one-way ratchet, permanent changes that you make to a kid's body. I can prove to you that we as a society reject that fact. Because take any other topic, take tattoos, for example. In all 50 states of this country, you're not allowed to get a tattoo by the age of 18. Why? Because you don't want a kid making a stupid decision that for the rest of their lives until they're a fully formed, freely consenting adult. Well, you know what? If we're a country that says you can't get a tattoo until the age of 18, then you certainly should not be undergoing surgery for genital mutilation and chemical intervention through puberty blockers before the age of 18 either. I will implement a federal ban on genital mutilation, on any surgeries that effectuate that for gender-affirming purposes, and including chemical intervention before the age of 18, because if you can't get a tattoo, it certainly doesn't make sense to allow kids to make these decisions that many of them, most of them, will regret for the rest of their lives. And I think we have to go even further beyond that to then protect them psychologically, make sure we're not perpetuating this toxic ideologies in our schools for kids. We have to recognize that transgenderism and gender dysphoria is, yes, a mental health disorder. That's what it's always been recognized as. We need to treat it accordingly. Gender dysphoria is great suffering, and I do believe it is. On earth are we going out of our way to create even more of that suffering amongst kids rather than actually treating it when it occurs? That's what we need to be doing. And I'll tell you, the social media is a big part of that problem too. It perpetuates a lot of these toxic ideologies using algorithmic force to do it. It's one thing if you're an adult, freely consenting, making a decision to be a customer of a social media company, even if that has an adverse impact. Same thing as drinking alcohol or smoking a cigarette. We're not going to fix that from banning doing it. Those are your choices to make as an adult. But kids aren't the same as adults. And you know what? If you can't smoke an addictive cigarette by the age of 18, if you can't have an addictive drink of alcohol by the age of 21, then you should not be able to use an algorithmically supercharged social media app by the age of 16 either. And I think a federal ban on the use of algorithmically superpowered social media, addictive social media, below the age of 16 is appropriate in this country. And this is all part of my of protect children, protect a generation of Americans, because it's not 1980 anymore. We face unique threats in the year 2023. I think we as a conservative movement need to wake up to that. And frankly, I don't care if you're a Democrat. These are issues that transcend partisan politics, basic steps that the next president of the United States can take to protect our children and the next generation. And if I'm elected as your next, speaking as a father, I will tell you this, I intend to do it.
I like his idea to get rid of social media for children under the age of 16. It is very addictive. It's addictive for adults. It's
I like getting rid of the Department of Education.
I don't disagree with that. I think it should go back to the state level, and we should.
One of Jimmy Carter's greatest hits. And Ronald Reagan tried in the 8 years that he was president, and he kept getting thwarted at every turn. So by the teachers' unions, among others, of course.
Well, but I think the public schools are one of the only owned buildings by the government that is not protected. Which, I'm sorry, children, hello.
And I've advocated for years, start arming our teachers. The ones who want to be, you've had the proper training. We have a lot of teachers that are retired military, so they're thoroughly familiar with firearms and how to use them properly. And nobody has to know that they have concealed weapons with them, except the principal and maybe some of the members of the staff have to know who is armed. A lot of these things, we've talked about, a lot of these things could be prevented by something as simple as wasp spray. The shooter from Sandy Hook walks into the office, had the secretary had a can of wasp spray sitting there. That looks very innocent. Looks like normal. Okay, there's a can of wasp spray. Those things are pretty darn accurate up to about 20 feet. Hitting this guy in the eyes with this wasp spray, and this thing would have been over before it started.
Yeah, well, I also think some of the trap doors, like the you go in the door and the other door won't open until you're buzzed in. I like that. I know that a lot of the doors are glass, which is how this person got in Nashville. So, but I do think there are a lot of solutions to the problems that we don't want to talk about what they are. We want to.
And there's bulletproof glass.
Yes.
By the way.
Yes.
When I was in Israel, I saw there was I went to a kindergarten there, and they had their playground actually had a wall in front of it with windows, but the windows were glass about 3 feet thick.
Wow.
It was amazing.
So I mean, we're spending all this money on these schools. Why isn't there bulletproof glass?
Yeah, for sure.
So. I don't know, Bill. But so much going on, and one of those things is the funding for a lot of these elections. And James O'Keefe, although he was kicked out of Project Veritas, he is He's starting his own thing, O'Keefe Media.
So he started one thing he got kicked out of. I guess he's starting another thing, and he hopes he doesn't get kicked out of this time.
Well, I think he's doing a for-profit versus a non-profit, which I think makes a huge difference.
Yeah,
as well.
for sure. So he's got this money laundering deal down, and show us a little bit about just exactly how it's working.
FEC data shows that some senior citizens across the U.S. have been donating thousands of times per year. Some of these individuals' names and addresses are attached to over $200,000 in contributions. We went and knocked on a few of their doors to corroborate the data that we received from a group of journalists called Election Watch in Maryland. This is James O'Keefe with OMG. I'm here in Annapolis, Maryland, and donated a total of $217,000 made through 12,000 different contributions in a 3-year period of time. Now, sometimes these contributions have been made in variations of his name and variations of his address. You see this chart here. This chart shows a breakdown of the committees that were earmarked to receive the donations made through Act Blue. And this is all FEC and state data. We're wondering if these donors are victims of what appears to be a money laundering scheme, or these residents actually participated in the scheme, or making phone calls, or knocking on doors. These are things that you can do. We hope you do that and see what happens. This is something new, very easy to do. A lot of homes with bizarre amounts of data showing tens of thousands of contributions made through different contributors here. So a lot of questions, and we hope the Citizen Journalism Army at OMG can answer them. This is an easy thing to do. Knocking on doors, asking questions. Get yourself a little microphone, get yourself a camera. You can use an iPhone. What we're going to do, reporters, is go back to the car and call them, right? We're going to call them. Get a few numbers to call. Contributed 3,000 contributions for $32,000. The FEC records indicate that you donated $32,000, 3,000 different contributions people made at this address in your name. Are you aware of that happening? You're not aware of that happening?
Talk to Donald Trump.
Talk to Donald Trump? Well, how would Donald Trump help me answer that question?
Hit him with a bat.
Hit Donald Trump with a bat?
Yeah, right over the head.
How would that help me answer this question?
It would certainly keep you in the news.
I
want to see a scar on his fucking head. Now stop fucking with me.
Whoa. Whoa. Cindy No of Annapolis, Maryland, who in the year 2022 allegedly contributed over 1,000 times to Act Blue, totaling $18,849.77. That means Cindy would have had to donate 3 times a day, every day, for the whole year. Hello? Hey there, Cindy. My name's James O'Keefe, and we're doing a story on the number of people that have donated with your address. Did you donate to Act Blue, a political cause? How many times a month do you donate to Act Blue?
I don't know. I don't know how many times. I don't understand why I'm getting this.
Well, the question is, you did donate to Act Blue.
Yes, once in a while, yes.
Did you donate 1,009 times?
I don't know. I mean, once in a while, $5 or so dollars or something like that a year.
What about $18,850?
I doubt that.
Not that many donations.
No, I don't think so.
The Federal Election Commission indicates that much money was donated to Act Blue and Biden for president.
I wish I $18,000 to Biden's presidency.
How much did you donate?
I don't know. I don't
Order
know.
of magnitude.
I like I said, I donate $5 once in a while because I have various charities I like to give to.
Do you know people are using your address?
I don't think so.
So, interestingly enough, she said she donates something like $5 a month. But we're getting kind of a pattern of reactions here as we do this. The woman was a very nice lady. She talked to us. So, interestingly enough, it's even in a two-party consent state like Maryland, with the camera out in the open, people are still being honest. This is sort of new to me. Usually we use the covert cameras, but maybe the camera's a truth serum.
But does it sound about right that there's been 18,000 contributions
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
in the amount of like $170,000?
Absolutely not.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. So that's not you doing that?
No, it's not.
But does the frequency that you're donating that like 10 times a day sometimes?
No.
No. Do you think someone is maybe fraudulently debiting your accounts or something?
They must be. ActBlue is the one I use for political donations. Yep. And I do not make that kind of political donations.
Right. So right here, it's 18,672 different contributions that total an amount of $170,000.221.
No.
So I'm about to call Garland Riggs. He's the excessive small amount donor. 31,073 individual contributions were made under his address. He's 80 years old. He lives on the outskirts of D.C. So many people across the country, I'm going to call him and see if I can make a contribution in his name and see how he responds. He's either a victim of some type of conspiracy or he's a culprit himself. A lot of these phone numbers are available on white pages, on Google, and other apps where you can find people's phone numbers and information. Hey there, Mr. Riggs.
Yes.
James O'Keefe, just asking about those contributions. We spoke on the phone. Have you donated to ActBlue in the past?
I don't believe.
You're listed as someone who's given over 31,000 individual contributions to various causes for a total of $230,000 to $30,000 using your name in this address.
No, that's not us.
That's not you?
No.
Have you ever donated to ActBlue? Or
I think my wife has, but nowhere near.
Are you aware that people are using your name?
No.
Have you donated to ActBlue in the past?
I don't believe so.
You're listed as someone who's given over 31,000 individual contributions to various causes for a total of $200,000 to $30,000 using your name in this address. How much did you donate to ActBlue?
So would you say 1,000 a year?
Probably not 1,000.
Not 1,000?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Would the FEC records say that you've given $230,000?
No.
It appears that someone else may be committing a crime using your address. I'll email you that information, the FEC records.
And do you think you can find at least some of these individuals?
That's what I do, sir. So when you do these and you walk up to the home, you want to say the person's name. Let's call them Smith. Smith, did you donate to ActBlue or Biden for president? Do you know how many times donations were made in your name? Follow-up question, did you donate 3,000 times, right? You ask those questions in that manner in order to elicit honest responses. We have dozens of other homes just in this state alone, but hundreds across the country that match his profile. You can do the same thing, knocking on doors, asking questions. Follow up, we can also ask him for comment before we publish the story. We will do that too. This is James O'Keefe reporting on the ground in Annapolis, Maryland for OMG. We received this fact-based data from one of our first group of amazing citizen journalists over at Election Watch in Maryland, the Gibson Group and Maryland 2021.
That's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, it really is.
Where is all that money coming from?
Uh-huh.
If it's not coming from those individual people that donated 31,000 times, one of the guys, where is it coming from?
That's a lot. I don't think in my entire lifetime I've donated 31,000 times to everything that I've donated to.
Right. Well, and I mean,
that's ridiculous.
The amount of money, over $200,000. Like that's, I mean, makes you wonder what's going on. I think that there's a lot of stuff we should be looking into. I just think that there's so many ways that people can hide money now. It makes it really hard to track a lot of this stuff. Very time consuming, especially with all of the nonprofits that have been created to move the money here, move it there, and kind of filter it through multiple places. So it is a little bit harder to track.
And that's what digital currency can do.
Oh.
And that's hence part of the war on cash.
it's not going to be good. Well, it's interesting, though. The government is not good at anything unless it's getting your money.
Yeah.
I mean,
they are good at that.
They can track your taxes. They can track every single thing that you've done. And there's even stuff that have come up that I'm like, I mean, you don't even remember sometimes. And it's like, oh, but the government knows. They've been tracking it.
The inefficiency of it all, as one of the late great economists of our
something. I guess the government can take it over.
Yeah, they sure can.
Milk it dry.
Yeah. Coming up next.
You know, we have a lot more to talk about. I know that Stone Mountain has been an issue.
Sure has. We'll talk about that coming up.
I didn't think we were going to break, so I didn't have anything, but.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the